Right, I'm making a video. This is, should you visit the Isle of Wight? If you are going to do that, should you stay in Sandown? Like I said, we are staying in the Sandown Premier Inn, and I just want to show you how close it is to the beach and amenities. So there's the Premier Inn. If we just scan round, ta-da, there is the beach, look. It's that close. And the pier is there, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? I think Sandown's okay, but depending who you are, sort of thing. The problem we found is, I'm going to walk back and show you. To get to anything, you've got to walk up this hill. Now we're walking up this hill, and me and the other half are like big fatty bums. We're like both sort of like 20 stone, and we're struggling to walk up the hill with a pushchair. We've got a disabled child, and I think that would be the same if you were coming here and you were bringing somebody that had a wheelchair, or if you were bringing a kid in a pram. Maybe if you were like a marathon runner, you'd be okay, but you know, that is the problem. You know, he's pushing them up the hill, sort of thing. The only other thing I want to mention is, if you can see up here, this little beach hut thing for viewing the beach. There's a few homeless about. There's people living in that beach hut there, up there. We can just zoom there, look. So there's 2 or 3 people living in there, which is something that you don't get told about. Now they're causing no trouble. We've walked by them. They've not asked us for money or anything like that, but they are sort of in there drinking. I've walked by them at night. I've walked by them in the morning. I've walked by them at night and I've walked by them in the morning, and they're all right. They're keeping themselves to themselves. But you know, coming to Sandown, I watched an American making a video on Sandown. He stayed at the Premier Inn, and he sort of walked up and down. I thought, oh, this looks really good. You know, we'll come and stay at this Premier Inn. Now, he did say on his video that he was struggling to find places to eat. And he was having all his meals in here, which is the restaurant next door to the Premier Inn. That's where he was eating, and I've got to admit, like the restaurant choices are limited. We're here the start of May, and a lot of the businesses are not open. You know, I would have thought the season would start sort of like April. But I'll tell you what, there's loads of like restaurants and stuff like that that are closed and that are not open. And what I'm not talking about, you know, we're here over the weekend. It doesn't matter when you're here; they're just closed. They're not having it. Do you know what I mean? That's the pier down there. We've been on the pier. There's a fruit machines. There is a bar. There's like a very small bowling alley thing you can go on. It's not too bad for kids, but it's not like when you go to Scarborough or Skeggy. You know, there's no tickets. You know, you're not in there and you're winning. You're playing and you're winning prizes and there's tickets. Right, this is the hill that I'm on about. So to get anywhere, you've got to walk up this hill. And I tell you what, I found it pushing a pushchair up this hill. We've got like a pushchair come pram with our youngest child. Is quite hard going. So that's why you know. I said to the missus, do you know what? I like the Isle of Wight. I think it's a nice place to visit. It's quite a relaxed atmosphere. But I said to her, I said, I'm not convinced that we're staying in the right resort. I think if we were staying somewhere else, we would have had a better experience. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think, you know, visiting the Isle of Wight is a nice place to visit, but I'm not recommending Sandown if you've got a wheelchair or a child in a pushchair, because you've got to tackle this hill. You can hear me already panting. I mean, like I said, I know I'm like a fatty bum 20 stone, out of condition. I think like normal people wouldn't find it a problem, but you know, like I said, push going down the hill as well. He doesn't look that sleek, he doesn't look that steep on a camera, but I tell you what, when you're pushing a wheelchair down the hill, pram wheelchair down the hill, oh, it's scary because you're hanging on to it for dear life. What is rather good, at the top of the hill, there's a nice model shop. So if you want to get yourself a model aircraft kit, there's Napoleonic soldiers, there's some trains, we've got some nice trains, wagons. So if you're interested in modelling, model railways, model aircraft, you know, it's not too bad. The only other thing I'd say about Sandown is the eating options. It's quite limited to where you can where you can get a meal. I'm sorry if we've got a bit of wind noise. Yeah, it's quite limited to where you can get a meal. I'll show you where we've eaten. So the first night, there is a Chinese restaurant down here. We went there, and it was like, my youngest son doesn't eat. He's sort of pipe fed. So there was 2 adults, 1 child, and we didn't have a lot. I think we had like a main course each and a rice dish each, and it come to 70 quid. This is it, hang on. This place here, Royal China, that's where we at. 70 quid, I got the bill and it said this does not include service charge. And I tell you what, I think the meal was horrendous. All the food tasted of like dishwater. So we're not recommending that. That was rubbish. And then the next night, we got a takeaway from a chip shop that's down here, which wasn't too bad. I'm going to give that 8 out of 10. But yeah, I'd say a lot of when you sort of walk down here, a lot of the restaurants are closed. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just like, you know, you know when you turn up at the seaside and you expect to find burger places and pizza places. It's not like that. It's more sort of like old-fashioned. You know, like one chip shop. You know, there's probably like 3 or 4 curry houses. I don't know, a couple of Chinese. But yeah, this is where we went to the Happy Haddock. I can recommend that. That was okay. That was, like I said, I'd give that 8 out of 10. That was all right. I'll tell you what as well. I'll show you. Yeah, that's this place here. Yeah, I can recommend that. The Happy Haddock. That was all right. I also had a couple of pints in the corner bank. There's a bar again. You know, you wouldn't believe it, you know, for a seaside town, but there's not that many bars. There's not, you know, maybe like 2 or 3 bars. That's all there is. So I had a couple of pints in here, and it's all right. Pretty chilled out. You know. you know, if you want to go for if you want to take some time off and go and have a pint, it's all right. Do you know what I mean? And then like shops. So there's down here. Look, you can see here. If you need some supplies, there is a co-op. There, look, if you need some supplies, there's a co-op. And then back the other way, there is a Sainsbury's. But yeah, that, you know, that's my thing. You know, I think staying in Sandown would be all right. Like I said, as long as you're very sort of, if you're fit, if you're here on a walking holiday or something like that, and you like plenty of walking, it's not too bad. But I think because of the limited food options, that's why, you know, people are eating in the restaurant next to the hotel. Like, I walked past the restaurant last night at 7 o'clock and it was fully booked. So they'd put notices on the windows going fully booked, we're not taking any more bookings. So, you know, what does that tell you? You know, it's like, you know, people like going crazy for a beef eater. I don't know, to me, you know, you know the old Premier Inn beef eater restaurant's pretty crap. You know, why are people eating in there? Well, the reason being because there's not a lot of choices. And then this is the Sainsbury's, look, the Sainsbury's. And what I can do as well, Sainsbury's, what I can do as well, I can show you. If we just walk back, there is a shortcut. So you've not got to go down the hill. There is a shortcut, a bit of a shortcut to the Premier Inn. You can go down these stairs. So there's a set of stairs you can walk down, and that gets you shortcut to the seafront. Down here, look. I'll just, as well, I'll just show you the beach. We went on the beach last night, and you know, it's not the cleanest beach in the world, that's what I would say. It's not too bad once you're on it, but the sort of entrance steps down to it, there's a fair bit of rubbish. You know, you'd have thought the council would be, you know, be a bit like you get in Spain, where you have a guy out there with a rake, raking the sand and trying to get it a bit nicer, wouldn't you? I'll just have a quick walk down here just to show you. Oh, I'll tell you what as well, hang on, just changing the thing. Yeah, car parking for the hotel. So there is limited car parking. The Premier Inn's got no car park, but the nearest car parking you've got is this. So there's the beachfront road, yeah, and you can park on the beachfront road. It's quite expensive. It's something like probably about 2 hours. It's probably about £3, something like that. But you can park overnight from 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. for £2. So, you know, if you've been out for the day, and then you sort of come back and you're staying at the Premier Inn, you know, you can sort of park. I'll show you in one of these machines down here. We'll have a look at the car parking charges. But yeah, as I say, the Premier Inn, I'm happy with the Premier Inn. It's a nice hotel, it's comfortable. But as I say, it's just, you know, lack of restaurants and having to walk up that hill is getting on my tits with a pushchair. But yeah, I'll have a look at this parking meter. I hope you're enjoying this consumer advice. Hopefully this video will be on the internet for years to come, and anybody that's coming. Yeah, here we go. Look, so up to 1 hour, it's £2.05p, 2 hours, £3.60. But the overnight tariff, 6 till 10 a.m, £2. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. You get some idea of the beach. I say this is the morning. I think we're about 7:30 in the morning. We're at. I just thought I'd come and make this video while there's not too many people about. There's been, when we've been driving around the Isle of Wight, there's been a lot of cycling events on. There's you know, people driving through checkpoints. You get to a town and there's somebody there in IVs, sort of welcoming them. I can't say it. Meeting them at the town. Right. So this is what we're saying. Look, you know, bit of rubbish. The bin's overflowing. I don't know. The beach ain't too bad. It's to say it's just that when you first enter it. When you first enter it, you've got ice cream shop as well. Look, opposite the beach. I've had an ice cream in there. It was all right. There is a bar here, which is your nearest bar to the Premier Inn. And like I said, they're doing a bit of live music going on. And there's a restaurant here, beach cafe bar. So, you know, you can get like homemade rhubarb pie and things like that. But the problem is we couldn't access it with the pram stroke wheelchair. Oh yeah, Flanagan's, that's what it is, Flanagan's. So sort of next to that there's Flanagan's, which is they say there's a bar and there's a bit of entertainment going on. Right, that's all I'm doing. I hope you found this video useful. Like I said, I'm liking the Isle of Wight. I'd definitely visit the Isle of Wight again, but I wouldn't stay in Sandown. It would be suitable, depending who you are. You know, if you're here for like some hiking or cycling or something like that, then maybe it wouldn't be too bad. But then again, I suppose if you want to eat healthily, it might be a bit of a struggle. Okay, that's all I'm doing for now. Cheers, bye.